Roberts, Rhythm 93.7. This, of course, is the Morning Drive. The segment is known as the STARTITUP Show. With me in the studio, my guest, Solomon Emmanuel. My name is Bruce Lucas, and I'm glad to be here once again. Actually, I'm not Bruce Lucas. Anyway, Bruce is unavoidably absent. He promised to get some cake when he's present. So, my guest, Solomon Emmanuel, glad to have you join us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, and today we'll be looking at software development. We're looking at development or developers, those who develop games, video games, web app games, and all that. Okay, and let's start with our friend here, Solomon, telling us a little bit about your journey into game development.
So,
when did you start?
2019.
That's like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yes, that was the first tech skill I ever learned. Yes.
Did you like it?
It was very exciting. It is very exciting always. Very exciting.
Okay, when you say it's exciting, is it exciting for a nerd or exciting for a guy? Are you a nerd, by the way? Permit me to ask.
100%.
They wear the glasses now.
I don't have eye problems.
Okay. Don't mind me. So it's a journey into basically 2019. Who introduced you?
My mentor. I worked at Lixotech.
In Port Harcourt?
In Port Harcourt, yeah. Lixotech is a 3D company. What they basically did was they developed 3D models for production. So people like in oil and gas industry, people in gaming industry. That was what we are basically doing through 2019 to 2021. So I didn't have any skill at all when I joined the team. I was absolutely a novice, but I learning from mentors, like people who were able to teach me, and I was just interested in learning about the whole 3D world.
So when you say 3D, you mean 3D graphics?
Yes,
and all
3D graphics, the same graphics we use for cartoons, the same graphics we use for games, the same graphics we use
3D animations and all that.
Yes, for the same thing we use in VFX movies. Yeah, like the Avengers and all those Hollywood movies we see. Yeah, that's the whole concept.
So Adobe, what do you use? Adobe After Effects and all that?
Yeah, Adobe After Effects, that's for pre-processing.
Movies.
Yes, that's for pre-processing. But the core 3D tools they are free tools like Blender. Blender 3D is absolutely free, it's beginner friendly. Then there are other paid softwares like Cinema 4D, Autodesk, Maya, Mari, Houdini. Those are paid tools. But if you're a beginner and you want to start, you can start using Blender. Blender is free to download. Very small megabytes. Very
small, huh? And you can roll on your laptop.
Yeah. I was using my first laptop was a HP Pavilion.
Okay.
HP Pavilion, very small laptop. I was able to start with Blender. Yeah, and it was running until, based on you have to make money, you need to build something more impressive. So I had to go for a higher graphic system. And they have to learn more powerful softwares. But if you're a beginner, you can start using Blender on any computer you can find.
So what you're telling me now is that the beginning part of this is 3D. Yes. And then you learn how to build 3D models for engineering companies, oil and gas, different aviation, anything anybody wants.
Yes.
You build it so that they can take a look at it before they go and create it.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. And that's where, but you now chose the gaming part of it.
Yes.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, so what educational background or skills are essential for becoming a successful game developer?
None. There's no. For those of us in the industry, we use the word industry standard. Right? Anybody in the 3D space, we always use the word industry standard because we have our own standards. That's just the way it has developed. There is no qualification. You don't have to have this WAEC.
Mustn't you know how to draw?
No, not necessarily. Because there are people who are called concept artists, and that's their job. The concept artist is the person who imagines the first picture and sketches it out. Now from that picture, you now start adding color with tools like Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator. So you just be the one to imagine it. And when the concept artist has painted that picture, and that picture is nice, then you start developing it into a 3D object, a 3D environment. So as a 3D artist, you don't need to know how to draw.
Okay, so what advice would you what would you give to someone who wants to start making games? Let's go to the games. I'm interested in the other part, but let's talk about these games. Who wants to start making games but doesn't know where to begin? What advice do you have for them?
You can find a lot of free resources online on YouTube. Well, the problem is you need structured learning. Like you need a structured learning environment where someone is going to tell you, start from here, and this is the next step, and this is the next step. When I started, there was no structured learning. I just jumped on YouTube, and the first tutorial I completed was a 3 hours tutorial, modeling just one object, and I spent like 3 weeks without any guidance. So that's the process I've been through. And if you want to learn, you need a structured learning environment. Maybe you can check online on Google to see if there's any 3D studio close to you, or you can go to places like Udemy, take a paid course. I would really advise you take a paid course where they have structured learning. Then you can explore YouTube and other aspects for improving yourself.
Start from Udemy, pay a little thing, and then start. And when you're going to Udemy, what are you going to be searching for? 3D animation or 3D modeling?
Yes, 3D modeling. Because the problem is this. The software you're going to use has different tools.
Okay.
And some tools are meant for modeling, some tools are made for animation, some tools are made for texturing, adding color and images. So you need to go through that modeling phase. Even if you're not going to be doing modeling, like me currently, I don't do modeling anymore. I know how to animate, but you need to go through that phase, because once you're learning that modeling process, you're almost going to use every tool available.
Okay.
And there's this 80-20 ratio to anything you're learning. That means you're going to use 20% of the tools you've learned for 80% of the job.
Okay,
Yeah.
I like that. If you're just joining us, this is the STARTITUP show. I have with me in the studio Solomon Emmanuel. He's a game developer in our midst, and we never knew. And the gaming world is in billions. I'm not joking. As a matter of fact, most of the EPL teams, in fact, most of the football teams in the world have gaming divisions where people go and play games, like their own football competition, their own cricket competition. It is a massive sub-industry. Most people don't know. Okay, and his name is Solomon. I'd like to have you join us, so stay with us. Solomon, let's move to the next one. What are the different ways game developers make money from their games?
Right, that's a tricky question, because there's always the skill part and there's the business part. And most of us who are still young, we are always focusing on learning skills, right? And we're not yet exposed to the business world of it. Now, for a successful game to even be successful, you need a team.
Okay.
Now, in that team, you need a story writer, because a game without a story is almost meaningless.
Okay.
So you need a story writer, and if you're good with storytelling, you have good chance in the gaming industry.
Okay.
And the reason I'm saying this is because in our world today, generative AI, like large language models like ChatGPT, Gemini, can generate prompts. You can just tell GPT generate a story for a game. GPT just generates a whole script for a game. But what I found is that most of those scripts, they are not very personal. They're not intriguing. There's no sense.
There's no originality.
Yes, exactly. It's repetitive. So even if there are tools that can automate those tasks, people who are good at storytelling have a very high chance in the gaming industry. Because if you're good at imagining, like I said, it starts from the imagination. So if you're good at drawing and you're good at telling stories, these are not technical jobs. These are not things you need to know how to write code or do complex models for.
Okay.
Just know you can draw, you can imagine creative and intriguing stories. There's a lot of room for you in the gaming industry. Now, if you're looking at technical roles where you have to model objects, right? You have to model objects, you have to animate those objects. So modeling is one skill on its own. The ability to create those 3D objects which populates the environment.
Yeah.
Then there's the animation part of it. You know, when you play a game, the characters are moving. Like, how do you get the characters to move to different types of motion? So the more complex the motion, the more skilled you have to be, and there's a lot of room for that. Then we also have the visual effects. If you played games like God of War, right, one of the things that make those games interesting is the visual effects part of the game. The fact that you can make a strike, and if you're
fire,
lightning, those are visual effects for game visual
that
effects.
Is another sub.
Yes.
Another group does that.
Another group does that. So there is a lot of room, and
so it's a big company.
It's a very big industry. It's a very big industry, actually.
Okay. How important is it to have a portfolio when applying for game development jobs, and what should it include?
For a portfolio, that's very important, because without a portfolio, there's really no proof of work. There's really no proof that you can do what you say you can do. So portfolio is 100% necessary. Build your, even if you've learned and you've not gotten any job, keep practicing, keep improving. So with every new step you take, every new task you complete adds to your portfolio. Whether it's paid, whether the pricing is low, everything keeps building up to your portfolio. And the best portfolios I've seen are portfolios where you can see that the developer starts from almost trash. And then when you go through maybe their Instagram, their Twitter, their Facebook, you can see the stages of development over the years. That tells you this is original. Their portfolios, if I want to hire a artist right now, and I go to your page and it's from day one to today, it's all looking flashy. There's this level, because I've been through that experience, this level of trust I will not have for you. But if I see a page where this person started with trash, and over the months and years, that artist has been able to build their skill, there's constant development, that's the person I will want to hire, because I know that person is a person who's driven by growth. And that person will most likely, in the next 5 years, that person will, given the new tools, new opportunity, that particular person is the person who is most likely going to keep growing.
Okay, I understand what you mean. So there's patience in your subsector too.
Yes, a lot.
Okay, so what are some of the common challenges the new game developers face when trying to break into the industry, and how do they overcome them?
In 2024, our biggest challenge is artificial intelligence. Yes.
Does AI now make games?
Yes.
Formidable games.
Every game engine right now, if you've not heard of the Omniverse, the Omniverse is a tool built by NVIDIA, the company that produces graphic card.
Yeah.
With a text prompt, you can tell Omniverse to generate a world, and it will generate the environment the way you want it to be. So we have generative AI that can generate stories. We have AI that can generate 3D objects. So
obviously this is an issue.
Yes, this is a big problem. The concept is this: AI is repetitive. So like the model I tried with Unreal Engine is an NVIDIA plugin, right? So Unreal Engine is one of the biggest game engine. You have Unity, you have Unreal Engine. I use Unreal Engine. So I tried creating a world with the AI, with the prompt, and the problem was it was too repetitive. So if you're a good prompt engineer and you already have the knowledge,
they have prompt engineers now.
Yes, it's a job. It's a prompt engineer. People who
I know what the prompt is. So they have prompt engineers.
Yes. It's a growing niche right now.
Are you serious? I can understand why.
So despite the fact that AI is a challenge currently, but you still need to go through that phase, because AI doesn't realize the beauty of humanity is that we can derive emotions from things we see, and it can give us certain feeling. AI doesn't know that, right? AI just knows that it should look like this, but it doesn't know why it should look like that. So even if those tools can generate those objects, you can now go in and edit them, make changes and make edits. So right now it's not going to be as tasking as it was 5 years ago when you had to learn almost every single step. So now you just know the basics. You know what you have to do. Let the AI do the heavy lifting. It's never going to be perfect. You as the human, you can now go in and edit. Like 70% of the job has been done. All you have to do is go in and edit. You're no longer creating from scratch, which is a problem a couple of new games are facing, because almost every game is now looking the same.
I understand.
Right, so because they are trying to speed up production, we're trying to reduce manpower, we're trying to save costs, so almost every game is looking the same currently.
Where does your money come from as a gaming industry? From those who subscribe, from those who buy? How does it come?
Yeah, you make money from putting your game on stores like Apple, Play Store.
Oh.
Yes, but the challenge is most people, the majority of the gaming population, it doesn't come from people who actually buy your game. It comes from people who play the game, and when they fail, they have to watch ads. So you play the game and you lose in a level. To join the game again, you have to watch ads. So when you sell those ad space in the game, as people watch the ads, maybe if they click, or how many views in ads your game can generate, you're making profit off that. That's one way. So you're selling the entire game. You build the game, you sell the game. Now that only works for big companies like games like Call of Duty, games like Fortnite. That only works for them. Now, if you're a smaller gaming company, you can also make money from selling game assets. So, like currently, what I do is you can build a game assets. Like,
what's the game asset?
The game assets are everything you find in the game. Those are the assets. Like the guns, the cars, the weapon, the gears, everything you find in the game.
So you can sell those one to a company can own that thing. This one can own this.
There are stores like the Epic Marketplace. It's a very popular. So that's where most game environment and character artists sell their work. So the issue is this: developers don't want to have to go through that stress of creating those things. They want to focus on, I have an idea, I have a story, let me code it out. So now there's somebody who says, I can generate a environment that is suitable to ancient Rome. That's the theme I'm going for, ancient Rome. I build all the assets, build the bridges, do the building, do the horses, the chariots, the clothes, everything, and I put it on the marketplace. So somebody who wants to create a game in ancient Rome will just go there and search for ancient Rome environment. Now he sees that environment, so he can now pick from any of the other sellers. That's a good way of making income. You don't have to, like I said, there's the technical part and there's the artistic part. So if you're an artistic person, you have a lot of room to make money in the gaming industry. If you're also a developer, there are freelance platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, remote jobs you can do. All you need to do is just put your services out, have a good portfolio, and give it time. You'll come around.
Okay, so game development can be intense, pretty intense from the way you sound. And it's not a one-man job.
Definitely.
So how do you maintain a healthy work-life balance in such a demanding field?
Work-life balance. That's a very interesting question, because most of us you tend to get carried away, especially when you're in a creative process. This is a problem with most artists and developers. Once you're onto something, say you find yourself you're onto a very brilliant idea, you tend to get carried away, and you keep going. But at the end of the parts, you realize that if you just focus on work, your work loses meaning.
How do you balance it?
How do I balance it? You need to deliberately create your own distraction. Yeah, you need to deliberately.
Is your distraction a healthy one?
Yeah, you have to. You need to make friends with people who are somewhat unserious. People who are willing to call you for no reason to just hang out. Like you can't just be one sector. I have serious people too much. I have serious friends who, when I want to work, I know people I want to work with, and I have people who they have their own jobs, they have their own things going on, but they are all about having fun in life.
Okay.
So definitely you need to balance it in some way, because if you're in that field, you're not the type thinking about where will I chill this weekend. It's not even in your head. That's the truth. But if you have somebody who is already planning the chilling, he already knows the spot to go. All he has to do is call you if you're ready. Let's go. So
Okay.
yes, you need those kind of distraction in your life, and it's actually healthy, because once you go out, you see the world, you see the real world.
Instead of the virtual world.
Yeah, so because we spend so much time in virtual space, so you need to go out every once in a while and experience the real world, see how people behave, see what's still going on in society. You're not just always on that computer.
Very key. Because of time, let me ask you this: how much does a game developer earn?
If you're on the average, so that depends. There are two ways, three ways, if I would say. First of all, if you're selling assets, or you're selling code, or you're selling blueprints, there's no real metrics to measure, because it's like business. Different people sell different things.
Okay.
But if you're employed, the game developers employed are making like full-time employed. They're making up like $3,000, $4,000 monthly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's full-time employment. Then if you're working
and it's a remote job kind of thing, right?
Yeah, if you get a full-time job, whether remote or hybrid, although we don't really have so much full-time hybrid jobs here in this part of the world. So if you're working on contract, let's say you get paid for a job, you're given a task, you complete and then you get paid. In that case, you'll be making at least between $500, $700 per task, like per job. That's no, it's not too low, it's not overshooting, but there are jobs that are intense. You can go up to $2,000 per job.
Okay.
Like that's how you calculate it. But for people who just focus on selling assets, there's no real metrics to calculate how much, because that depends maybe if you're doing adverts, if you're reaching out to people. No, on the same online store, not everybody's making sales as much as every other person. So those are the three major ways you can calculate sales.
Okay, thank you very much, Solomon Emmanuel, for sharing with us. And so where can someone catch you? And do you have any tasks now? For time, because of time, in 1 minute. How can someone reach you on social media and all that?
I'm not very active on social media.
Amazing.
Not very active on social media. But you can also reach me out on my Instagram, Code and Query.
But you're on LinkedIn, of course.
Yes, I'm on LinkedIn.
Of course, as a code man.
I'm on LinkedIn, definitely I'm on LinkedIn. But I'm usually spend more time looking for where the jobs are.
Which is on Upwork, Fiverr.
Upwork, Fiverr, yes, where I spend most of the time. Bidding for jobs, going back and forth with interviews.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.